Hey, I'm Amy Cerny Vasterling, and this is my friend and colleague, Cianne Thomas. And we are here because I've written a book called Know Where the Status Quo Ends and You Come to Life. And Cianne has read the book and offered to ask some questions about the book, curious about what's the deeper take on it. And we're going to record it so that you can share in it too. So here we are. And Cianne, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Amy. I'm excited about your project. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's, yeah, exciting. Woo, the launch is coming.
It
Yeah.
is
So
right around the corner.
yeah, Cian,
Yeah.
what struck you or what questions came up
Mhm.
for you when you were reading
Mm.
the text?
Well, I it really resonated with me, the backdrop, the background story about, going through life, doing all of the things that you thought you were supposed to do, that you were expected to do, and never questioning why, or when or where, right? You should do those things, and always having that angst about it.
Yep.
And so to me, it really the book really focuses in on our intuition.
Hmm.
And I wonder, that's my first question, would the knowing be the same or similar to one's deep intuition?
Absolutely. And I want to point out, I think to characterize the book is really
Mhm,
good for women because of this, because
yeah.
this is the role that we were to play, right? And
Hmm.
you highlighted it there perfectly. Yes, it is synonymous or akin with intuition, and I call it in the book personal knowing. But at this level where we are now in our world, it's a
Hmm.
little bit much for us to think about intuition because it seems a bit insurmountable or larger than we are. Not that it is.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think of it this way as in the book, I make an example of when we're a child, we know when we're hungry and we cry. We know when we need our diaper changed. We show that, right? We know when we need a snuggle and we get it. But as soon as we are between a year and a half and 3 years old, all of a sudden we cry and the parent tells us what is going on. They say, "Oh, you're just tired," or "You're just
Hmm.
cranky," or and it's these small micro pieces that start to move us into this kind of disassociation or disconnection with what
Hmm.
is our personal knowing. You knew when you were
Hmm.
hungry, and now all of a sudden, I
Right.
remember when I was in my early 40s, I didn't know, I couldn't feel when I was hungry or not. And I thought, this is insane, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
things in our society, such as I say, this work and living life is really an
Hmm.
art form. It's not a
Hmm.
science. And yet we spend an awful lot of time writing and researching what do humans eat? What truly is the diet for the humans? And I think
Right.
that's where we're moving into this. We're going to
Mhm.
decide instead of we each know for ourselves. But that specific knowing has to come
Mhm.
outside of something I call the model or the
Mm.
control we assert to establish or, well, let's say maintain or advance our place in the hierarchy. And the trick with that is we're generally not aware of it. But even what you said
Mhm.
early on, you were acquiescing and trying to be this person that you weren't, and it's
Right.
exhausting. But that
Yeah.
is you trying to maintain or advance your position in this hierarchy that you have no interest in being a part of. Nobody does. Not even
Right.
the people who seem to benefit from it. It's
Right.
not good for them either. Yeah. So,
Sure. So we are talking about then um, aeons of being conditioned,
mhm,
would you say? So we're born into it. Our parents are born into the model, right? Our grandparents are born into the model.
mhm.
Our great grandparents, our great. So we're talking about generations and generations and generations of conditioning. Would that be appropriate?
I would, and we can see it in times like, I
Hmm.
mean, I'm not here to talk about religion at all, but in Christianity, where to me, Jesus was a master and a thinker and was
Hmm.
saying, you are the sons and daughters, like I am the son, and you can create water into wine. But we took it into the hierarchy. And that's where the
Hmm.
misstep made it a very, very different
Hmm.
message that became, in my perception, about control
Hmm.
instead of about this beauty of of freedom and our ability as humans to really expand beyond what we think is possible. And isn't it sad? I mean, that we missed that for all these years. I mean, 2000 some years. So exactly, I'm not going to pinpoint when this started. I have some
Right,
inklings, but
right.
this
Hmm.
problem became a cycle where some people were not valuable, and really the
Hmm.
positioning
Hmm.
there set up that the people that were really asserting in the hierarchy
Right.
were the ones with no consequences.
Hmm.
They're the ones that are really
Right.
causing the struggles, and then there are people that have far too high of a consequence and gone unchecked. The ones with no consequences set the tone for society, and that becomes the status quo of, well, that's just how he is, or that's just how she
Hmm.
is,
Hmm.
and we're done with that.
Mm.
She can be different.
So we have been detached then from our personal knowing.
We have, and it's systematically removed from us. I mean, in a speech
Mm.
that I've written, I say we are taught quite early to trust the other voices in our life over our own. Our
Right.
teacher, our doctor, the teacher might say to our parents, if this child doesn't read by third grade, this might happen. Or if they don't take
Right.
this medicine, bad things can happen. And we become afraid of that instead of understanding that the possibility of this child might just operate differently than other children, and that's not
Mhm.
wrong. It might be actually a skill set that is expansive for them and teaches them something we could actually use on earth and need
Mhm.
to know.
So tell me how, Amy, one is to reconnect to their knowing. Can you talk to us about a roadmap, if you will,
Mhm.
of what any person can do, can access right now today to reconnect to their knowing?
Yeah. And in my book, in the beginning, I say this isn't a prescriptive situation
Right.
because you do it the same way that you went into it, you come out of
Mm.
it. And I'm a wild one. Check out the gray streak. So I came out wildly. I have to fight through. It's just how I'm built, which is fine, but it's not easy all of the time. So the two main pieces are to leave. Like, it's really hard to see the model in our life. And many people
Mhm.
would say, I'm not in the model. I don't have any model relationships or friends, but it's
Mhm.
really everywhere. And
Right.
so it's recognizing where situations are in a control situation
Mhm.
when we posture in the model. And I'll quick say those that on one side of the model will boast, tell, prove, or withhold by avoidance. So,
Mhm.
people that boast that are like, I'm so cool. And, they're
Right, right.
insecure, right? That's the model.
Hmm.
And then on the other side of it is worry and guilt and drama. And then withholding, but it's more a form of ruminating, overthinking,
Mm.
kind of an expanded worry, but it can turn into self-abuse in that format of withholding. So we recognize those and make choices about relationships, make choices about like
Mhm.
the place that we work, and start making small movements so that we can change that and have a different experience. And the second major piece is somatic work. So I say with the model, once we relieve the control, to me, we're relieving ourselves of the Freudian ego, and we're moving in, and I'm not really a Freud person, so, but
Sure.
we're moving into the Greek, I am. I am
Mm.
this, right? We are
Mhm.
claiming who we are because we know it's true. And
Mhm.
the other secondary piece is, or not secondary, but as important, is the somatic work, which is working with the inner child. And my way of doing it is a little bit more depthy and unique. But the piece there that I found is once we relieve the inner child parts of their
Mhm.
trauma, we free ourselves of our shadow altogether. And that's what makes us available for what the future will look like, which is a
Mhm.
little bit different. Yeah.
So you use the term shadow.
Mhm.
Did you use that interchangeably with the model? We free ourselves from that shadow.
No, because I think of the model as the control and the shadow as
Okay,
trauma from that control. So it's the
gotcha.
output. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm. That's powerful. If you were to define somatic for our listeners, how would you define it?
Yeah. It's a great question. Really, the sensations inside when we tune
Mm,
into those and operate to talk to them or engage with them so that they can
mhm,
kind of in a way speak, and then the energy of that can move through and out so that we're healing parts of us that got trapped. Like if you had an accident on your elbow, that might
mhm,
speak and be really concrete sequential because you know you had an accident, but there are parts within our body we may have had some funny pain here or there, and
mhm,
we can relate to it and then release
mhm,
so that we're letting it flow out, letting the emotions off the hook. That's really what we're doing, which
mm.
is
I
something
love
that,
that.
yeah, is massively missed in parenting.
Mhm.
Yep,
Letting the emotions off the hook.
that's right.
So emotions almost is personified.
In a way. And I mean, I think
Yeah.
we're quick in our society, like the model relieves us from
Right.
having it be good and bad and this
Uh-huh.
way. So it's also, I think we tend to now think of emotions as not so great because they're not very fun. Most,
Mm.
many of the ones that we have to process to move through.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that's not true. We're actually, in the future, the pattern moves to us being far less emotional. And
Mhm.
this is why we are cleaning out this lineage and our own traumas and healing ourselves. Yeah.
Can you say more about the future and what it looks like, or
Yeah. In my
tell me
book,
more about that? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I give an example of Daniel Kish and
Uh-huh.
one other woman, and both of them really, their lives were championed very well by their mother, who said that's who the child is, and they need to be who they are. And the child was allowed to express themselves.
Mhm.
And both of those individuals brought something new to Earth. And interesting,
Mm.
both of those people too have a disability. And Daniel Kish is not sighted. At 13 months old, he had a form of eye cancer, and he was a very physical human. And his
Mhm.
mother maintained that he could still be physical and navigate his world on his own accord. And he taught himself how to echolocate, and now he teaches others how to do that. But the difference is when he was asked, "Do you want to teach people this? We really want you to." He said, "I don't know. I don't know that I want to do that," because it was for him. And it's a very different
Mhm.
position than being an influencer trying to be
Sure. Yeah.
seen. He didn't
Right.
know because he wants it to be something that's natural, but he doesn't, he's aware of it at such a deep level. He's with his knowing. So, in the future to me, and this is really in my second book, which isn't out yet, but we're gonna, I know, yeah, we're gonna move from the fixed point model into something where we are ourselves moving through the atmosphere in our world, and
Mhm.
not that we're crazy, but and that things are orbiting in and out with us, just like the sun, actually how the sun really
Mhm.
moves.
Mhm.
We don't see that in our model that we have as a concentric circles around the center point, which is more narcissistic, honestly. And
Mm.
that we will sense this person's going to come in and we'll know them for 2 weeks. And then after that 2 weeks, they'll move away because we've exchanged what we needed and we're finished. And there will be no emotion to it because we know it. Right.
Mm. That's
And
fascinating.
yeah, and I've already lived that, right? I can meet somebody and know
Yeah.
that what's going to happen, and we might not know each other for 2 years, and then they'll come back
Mhm.
in. I already have had
Mhm.
sense about that in my life and can see how that works. It's
Mhm.
quite lovely because then there are no hard feelings. Um,
Right.
but the other piece is I believe we're headed to where we will not communicate as much verbally because the
Right.
emotions are healed up or configured. This is where the intuition comes in, but the sensing, and that's all it is. All intuition is in my world is pattern keeping. And people who are
Mhm.
adept at seeing the pattern tend to be highly intuitive, and people that are curious and can see the pattern are kick ass at this because they want to know more, so they push at it instead of just take it in. And that's been
Uh-huh.
part of the problem in our world and what's kept the model alive. Is I might say to you, Cianne, well, this word is true. And you say, okay. And then you go and tell another friend, this word is true. Instead of saying, Amy, I'm not sure about that for myself, or not even saying a thing and just going ahead and saying, I'm going to figure that
Mhm.
out for myself. We
Right.
want to challenge things so that we know it's true for
Mhm.
us. Because what we might find is that might be true for Amy now, but that's
Right.
not true for me. It took me on this massive expanse to understand something different. I don't need to tell Amy. I know
Mm.
for
Right.
myself.
Because now you know for yourself.
That's right. And that's all it
Right.
takes. That's like Daniel
The
Kish.
knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
The
yeah.
know. What kind of timeline are we looking at for evolving into a more knowingness way of being and less verbal, less words and more feeling?
I think it's a little bit of a ways off, but I also think that it can happen rather quickly because
Hmm.
life is speeding up because of the model. It's a fixed point system. So it's like a metronome that's going the opposite direction, right? And
Hmm.
because it's fixed point, it goes faster and faster and faster and faster and faster. And we're seeing that spin out right now. And I believe because there's so many people in mass that are aware of, intuition and the spiritual movement, even though my work
Hmm.
moves us into a really exalted, well, I don't want to use the word exalted, expanded state of creativity, of our
Hmm.
humanness, and has very, like, I think we're going to drop all of the spiritual and see ourselves as the creator in a very different,
Hmm. Right.
non hierarchical way. Maybe I'll say it that
Mhm.
way. So I
Are
I
you
would
suggesting that the concept of spirituality is also a product of the model?
I feel it is. Yep. And I
Okay.
feel like,
Hmm.
yes, these traditions are long and so on,
Sure.
but I
Hmm.
feel like we're moving rapidly into something else where I believe a lot of that's going to fall away because we're so aligned, we attract naturally. And that's the result of my work. That's really where we head when we head out of the models. We head into natural equality. And that's
Hmm.
how people come into our um,
Mm. More
environments.
more like a helical
Yeah,
kind of.
an attractor in a way.
Right.
It's like the law of
Yeah.
attraction is a sealed deal because
Mhm.
we're in this aligned state at all points
Mhm.
and we're calm by nature. We don't need to meditate. We don't need to do anything like that because we're with
Mhm.
ourselves.
Mm. That sounds beautiful.
I know. I can't wait.
Calm by nature, and we don't need to meditate. We just
That's
need to trust.
that's right. And we will be in trust because we see this constant expansion and that feels in our nature as humans, that's something we haven't experienced outside of the model on Earth.
Right, right. Could we be speaking of an expansion of consciousness? You said a conscious expansion,
Yeah, I
but could
don't
we
go
be?
there, but yeah, I'm
Uh-huh.
sure so. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
it's all quantum, but it's also
Hmm.
not, I would take it to science or I would take it to art
Okay.
for me. And so, yes, we're operating from sensing
Hmm.
instead of from these physicalities. We're still physical, we're still doing that. We can still go out
Yeah.
running or meditate if we like to do that. Like I enjoy it,
Right.
why not?
Yeah.
But it's more this, we're really
Hmm.
here to expand and express and live fully.
Right. Yeah.
And in a way where we're headed, meditation would be rather boring because it would be like, why would I do
Mhm.
that when I don't need to calm down? I'm already really with myself.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm already with myself.
you got it.
Wow. What could parents do today who have children or want to have children to really cultivate uh, the their knowing, the child's
Well,
knowing versus the model?
yeah. See, and that's where I started with this work as I
Hmm.
came through four situations
Hmm.
that were super intense with empowerment. And that's what showed me. But the first one was with my children. And that's how I saw the model. And it took me
Hmm.
8 years of working out two parenting techniques that are out there in our world. But in truth, what I would say to the parent is you need to parent yourself, and that's my work. Is we can work together and go to my website amyvasterling.com, but take a look because that is what's tricky is the first people that go through this are it's a lot because you're really are seriously paving a new way, but then you become the example, and by that it's going to be very easy to become the parent you wanted to be. And in another way, a few years of you being a little bit of a, working it out or 6 months or whatever it takes. I mean, I'm not going to put a timeline on that. Once you come through that, it's going to be far easier to learn. There are two parenting techniques, like I said, that I recommend, but it's going to be easier to take those parenting techniques and apply them because you are outside of the model and you're going to be the example of that for your kids. And what better thing to do than that? When we keep our kids with our knowing, one of the reasons all of this clicked for me is I had a lot of anger when my kids were young and I didn't know why, as well as in my head, I thought, I want to create children or support children to be ones
Uh-huh.
who, when they are driving a car and if something were to happen, they would make a really founded decision. And I learned I can't worry about them. I have to trust
Mm-hmm.
them because in the heat of it, if I'm worrying
Mm-hmm.
about them and unsure, they're more likely to make a poor decision. And I
Wow.
also realized let my kids have natural consequences so that they can learn how to think quickly or
Right.
think through a
Or
problem.
critically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Right.
And that's how I started is just that
Uh-huh.
intention of when they're 16, here's what I want. And all of it came and fell into place to help them really continually see who they are
Mm.
and
That's powerful.
right, stay with that knowing
Yeah.
who they are.
I think the model may be couched in fear because as parents, we want to protect our children. And that is the basis of the model. Right?
That's
Well,
right.
I mean, as it pertains to parenting, right,
Yep,
is fear to
right.
protect them, to make sure that they're going to have a better life than you had,
Mhm.
or more opportunities than you had. And so this whole existence feels like it's couched in fear, in fear that's so deeply embedded in the model, right, that you can't see the forest for the trees.
Cianne, on point. The other piece of that that's really tricky is this is the most primary relationship that we have. Your children are like you, and they're going to trigger
Mm-hmm.
those parts of you that you're unwilling to see, and you want to hide
Mm,
that. You want
mm,
to work so it's like, okay, let's
mm.
not do that. So often the parent feels like they are the teacher to the child when actually the children
Mm-hmm.
come and teach us. And if we understand that, it's really a much more powerful dynamic with our children, right? We let
I
them
I
be.
love that.
Yeah,
Wow. So the children actually come here to teach us.
they do. They're bringing patterns that are helping us work off our trauma.
Wow. And that is the natural design that
That is, it's
uh,
rare for a parent,
mhm.
in the spiritual, I guess we'll say right now, to be the one that's teaching the child. It
Mm.
happens, but
Wow.
it's rare. Yep.
Hmm.
But we
That's
don't, we have a
fascinating.
hierarchy, right? We have a
Right.
hierarchy. So it's like, I'm the parent, I know better.
Right. I'm
And
older. I've been here longer.
exactly, I have more experience. And even like that speech that I wrote, I say in there,
Uh-huh.
you as the parent probably challenged it with your parents, and then
Right.
your children challenged it with you, but that was not okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was not
Mm,
okay to challenge it. I'm the parent.
mm.
No.
Do as I say, not
Right.
as
And
I
or
do.
even just no.
Be seen but not heard.
Exactly.
Right. All of
And
these
that's
little phrases
well, and
that
that
are
sets up a tenet of our malevolence or our discord is being
right.
misunderstood. And I mean, I've traveled a ton around and everybody I talked to in every country so far has said, because I say in the US, being misunderstood is a massive piece that happens in US parenting. I'm not saying
Hmm.
everybody does it, but it's
Right.
common. And everybody in the world says, yeah, that's common here too, but because of exactly what you're
Mm,
saying, the parents are trying to protect the
right.
situation and mhm,
Right.
yeah,
And so then they cut the child off from their own knowing.
that's right.
That's
Yep.
the byproduct of going into parenting through that lens of I have to protect my child. I have to make sure that my child does better than me. You
Mhm.
know, this whole idea of status, right?
Mhm.
Status indicators and possessions, right? Uh, is all part of the outcome of the model of living in the model.
Yep. It is. It's all, I
Mm.
mean, yep. How society is set up is the model. I
Hmm.
mean, it was set up by
Hmm.
this model and we really can't see it.
Hmm.
Took me decades to see it and
Hmm.
understand
Hmm.
why is there this undeniable hurt in me? And I can
Right.
see everybody's not thriving in the world. And it's like, yeah, you can see specific reasons that they aren't allowed, they're
Hmm.
oppressed, denied access. but there's something more beyond that. It's something
Right.
greater than even just that. And this is what came, is this
Mhm.
way that we control, which is really
So
controlment. Yeah.
you you mentioned that you the future
Hmm.
is you're going to talk more about that in your next book.
Hmm.
When can your readers look forward to your next book?
Yeah. Well, the first one's just coming out, but I have the second book is,
They're
pretty.
gonna drink it up
I know. And then
and
I'll be
want
like,
more
get the
and
other one
want
out.
more.
The first one took me 4 years. So 3 years to write, 1 year to publish. Yeah,
Hmm.
good question. When I wrote the first book, I did not know I was a book writer, like I love it. If that's what I could do all the time, that's what I'd be doing. And I have the second one and third and fourth one set up. So I've
Wow.
set up, or I'm on the second edit of the second book, about 68 pages in, and I have 150 written. So pretty,
Wow.
I'm
So we could look forward to your second book in the next couple of years then.
yeah, exactly. I think if
Fair.
things,
Hmm.
roll the right direction, I could do it sooner.
Right.
Yeah, but we'll
Yeah.
see. Because
Uh-huh.
I love to write. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. So you talked about the somatic work and parenting yourself.
Mhm.
Can you expand on that concept of parenting yourself,
Well, I
Amy?
think, especially see in our generation, we're stuck in the middle a little bit. We can't just be like, okay, we're going
Mhm.
to continue to be a capitalist society and do these things and do all the things that you listed, that we want our
Right.
children to achieve higher than we did.
Right.
It's not that way. And we are aware of that. We also are in a generation, Generation X, where we were left to our own a lot. We had to figure it out. We had to
Mhm.
troubleshoot. We had to parent our parents sometimes. I mean, I
Right.
think that's actually quite common in our generation.
The
And so,
latchkey kid, right?
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So when it came time for us to parent, we're
Hmm.
kind of caught in between, particularly for women, no offense, men, but um, we are trying to meet our own emotional needs and supply our own parenting for ourselves, but we're hurting because we didn't really have it. And then we're giving to these
Hmm.
children and showing them how. And that can be where some of the anger and frustration comes up, is I didn't have this, and how do I figure this out and do it really well? We want our children to move on and do their thing. Right.
To
So
thrive, yeah.
exactly. So needless to say, that's I'm losing my train of thought here, but the piece that I think is important is the Cianne, how we, I don't know, I'm just gonna say move through, but as the parent, and now the parent has time to be able to focus back on themselves and
Mm.
parent
Parent
themselves,
themselves.
do the
Hmm.
somatic, take that time. Our children are raised, we're ready to go.
Right.
And that's a necessary step for many of us, so that we set the
Hmm.
tone for the future of society, to see we are calm by nature. We are not continuing this crazily anxious society, and
Yeah.
society is so anxious, and rightfully so. It's a world that isn't, I mean, I wouldn't choose this,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
For
Right.
anybody. I mean, it's like, come on,
Right.
yeah, everywhere you look, it's challenging.
Hmm.
So, um,
Definitely. So is there hope, Amy?
yeah, there is hope. And I think the trick is we have to think in a quantum way where things can shift quite quickly. And there's a lot about consciousness and so on, where only so many people need to be at this type of thinking, or so on. I'm not into that totally, but I get the idea, and I feel like, yeah, the same thing. It's like voting for somebody. You only need so many votes, and then that's where we're headed. And I think so many people are distressed. The breakdown is happening, and we're seeing the greatest ills of humanity in this time
Hmm.
exposed, trying to be hidden. It's not going to be successful. They're going to be
Yeah.
exposed. And while that is hard, it's the right thing.
Necessary. Right.
Yeah, to pave the way so that things really change. You also see at the same time, just keep some hope that there are more people that are being put into office. Like, I think South Korea just is vetting a female president,
Mm.
opportunity. And And there are
Hmm.
more, like Namibia has a female president, and I'm sorry, but she's just shit. Like she's
Yeah, right.
amazing. She's really thinking
Wow.
about her people and all of it. And I
Hmm.
was just like, I think that
Mm.
that is,
So women are going to step more
I,
into leadership roles. Is that what
I think so.
I'm
And I
hearing?
think it's necessary because it's the thing
Hmm.
that hasn't been done, right? And
Right.
yes,
Hmm.
there are women who operate out of that old model way.
Right.
I
Right.
also feel that the chances of women wanting to stake their claim and say, we're going to do it very
Hmm.
differently, like
Hmm.
this president of Namibia, she's phenomenal. I mean, she's forward thinking, but she's thinking about the people. And that's what we need because that allows everybody to thrive. It allows us into that
Hmm.
more knowing, conducive environment so that it's natural
Hmm.
for us to do that, to stay who we
Sure.
are. Yeah.
Mm. That's fascinating. So what does it look like, Amy, to work with you through, through the work that you do? And I know you do one-on-ones, you do groups, you do all kinds of cool stuff. What does it look like for one that wants to do this work and wants to you to help them? What could
Yeah.
that look like?
It's a good question because that's always an unknown, right? What is it? What does it
Hmm.
look like? It really is curated to you to some degree. But
Hmm.
if you wanted a one-off session just to come and see what it's about, I offer that,
Hmm.
and it's all on my website. And I am currently working on a multifaceted offering that is, you could do more high-level coaching, and I will truly curate it for your need because you're you're not a widget. You're not,
Right.
yep,
One
rinse and
size fits all.
that's right. So
That's part of the model.
it is part of the model. So we're working at an angle where
Mhm.
really what I'm teaching you is to not be afraid to go in deep and experience what needs to come through and come out because that is, that can be kind of scary and that experience of really letting go. And I say
Mhm.
years ago, I used to say this to my clients, never sit in fear alone until you can.
Mhm.
And that's what I hear, and I also
Wow.
say in my
Yeah.
work, open yourself to a world which in truth is all yours, like
Right.
let's bring
Yeah.
it. So um, those foundational concepts are
Uh-huh.
ways that I help people move into what is it,
Mm.
but you need to be a curious person to want to
Right.
do this work with me. I feel that women, creatives, and highly sensitive people are going to be some of the first to go through and do this. I've already had some
Mm.
clients come through to some degree with this work, but now I'm really bringing it out full force. So,
Yeah.
but look on my website and see
AmyVasterling.com.
.com. Yeah,
That's Vasterling.
thanks.
Amy Vasterling. And Amy with a Y.
You got it. Yes.
Wow. Wow, this is fascinating. And I don't know how much more time you have, but it sounds uh to me that we are we are moving on a planetary scale,
Mhm.
right? And you talked about, you have to think quantum. Can you say more about that, Amy? About
Yeah.
thinking on a quantum level and being on a quantum level?
Yeah, I think that when we're in our knowing, we don't even need to
Hmm.
know what that is because it's
Okay.
already so. And that's where to me, it's an expanded humanness in
Mm.
expression of who we are. But it simply means that the quantum is really defined by some out there that it's the energy between the atoms. And so,
Right.
well, it's been harnessed and it's not really been researched a great deal because it's difficult to do so. But to
Hmm.
me, it is really the precipice of all possibility. And that's why the expansion goes in the quantum direction, is because
Hmm.
anything can happen. But when we're with ourselves, it will be powerful and positive. And you've got to
Hmm.
think we're going to go to something completely different than what we've been doing, which has been people can manifest off of malevolence. They can have things work out for them when they've
Hmm.
been wrongdoing, right? And that's
Right.
worked out because they believed in themselves. But the truth of it is, they aren't in their expansive expression. They were in their trauma, and they were
Right.
doing everything to backpedal with whatever they could to put that trauma onto other people so that they didn't have to face themselves. And
Mm,
so the world players right now that are at the highest levels of showing, I'm just going to say hatred and things
right.
and doing awful things, are really trying to hide all their own trauma. It's sort of the
Hmm.
same thing like parenting, how you don't want to see it. So you're like,
Right.
kid,
Right. Yeah,
let's just shut that
exactly.
off.
Right.
And now we're moving into, we're healed,
Hmm.
we're expanding, and
Hmm.
we're in this expression that's going to go a completely different angle, a different direction. Yeah,
So the timing was right for the trump card to be played.
I think so. Yeah. It's hard
Isn't
to
that
watch though.
interesting? And the timing was right for um, the discoveries that have been made and continue to be made in quantum physics.
Agreed. I think too, even as
Hmm.
a little example of my work, I was trying to get this out years ago, and now
Hmm.
is the time, and it's on
Right.
time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating. I'm
Mhm.
excited. I'm excited. I love the book. I love the book. I invite folks to read the book. Absolutely,
Yeah.
you won't regret reading the book. And the book is tell us the name of the book,
Yeah.
Amy, and tell us when the book will come out.
It's no KNOW, where the
Hmm.
status quo ends and you come to life. And it comes out
Mm.
September 16th, which is just a week away. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
exciting!
There are pre-orders now for the audiobook and the ebook, but they won't release to you until the 16th. Yeah.
Okay, and where could one find the physical copy of the book when
Yeah,
it's
internationally, the best way is on Amazon. It
okay?
also, in the United States, it's offered on Barnes and Noble and on
Mhm.
Apple. I mean, there are a whole bunch of outlets, but those are the major. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. September 16th, the book
Mhm.
launch. Do you want to talk about the online launch that you have planned or
Yeah, I do. I mean, that's fine. I have an online launch that's on the 20th of September. It's at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, and that would be GMT +1 at 4 p.m. and CET, so Central European Time at 5 p.m. And it is going to be an hour and 15 minutes. There's a Q&A at the end, but I'm giving away some funny gifts. And what? And let me tell you, it's going to be an international crowd. So that could be kind of
right?
fun too.
That's going to be fun.
It will be fun.
And so if I wanted to join in
Mhm.
on this, how can I do that?
Cian, it's a good point. Maybe I will put my link tree, which is on my YouTube,
Hmm.
and you can go and sign up for my email or go to my website and
Okay,
find there where to
sure.
do so. Yeah,
amyvasterling.com.
you got
Okay,
it.
wonderful. Well, I can't wait. I'm so excited. I
Thank you,
can't wait.
Cian.
And I'm already looking forward to book number two.
Great. Thank you. Me too. I love writing it. I'm like, I just want to do that all day. Other
That's so
stuff to
cool.
do.
Right, right. So we can find your services on your website. We can find more information about the book launch celebration,
Yes.
digital or virtual celebration
Virtual. It is
on
virtual.
your website, and we
Yes.
can find your book after the 16th on Amazon
You got
and
it.
Barnes and Noble. In Barnes and Noble.
You got it.
Wow. Well, thank you, Amy. This has been a wonderful conversation. I sure appreciate you taking the time out of your international travels. You're on one side of the world, I'm on the other, but this has been a great conversation, and we should definitely do it again.
Cian, thanks for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for reading the book.
You're welcome. My pleasure.